Well, good afternoon and welcome. Nice to see some familiar faces as well from this morning, so thank you for coming back. Hopefully you sort of woke up from the last session or got excited by it, whichever one it was. So welcome to Juggling a Busy Workload, and we're going to look at this in a sort of pretty typical way. So firstly, we're going to look at some tips to how do I juggle my workload better, and what sort of strategies work for people. And then also look at some kind of maybe challenging around what we're already doing. So, as I said this morning, in a different subject area, I'm aware, in the roles that you guys have got, that you're already juggling your workload. So I know I'm not talking to people who have no experience of, how to manage multiple agendas, how to, work effectively and efficiently. So we're just looking at it from a position of developing from wherever you are. Not that you're at zero and we need to kind of get you from zero. I already appreciate that, everyone here is already doing this to a certain extent. So it's about improving that, where you are and just increasing the, your capabilities in this particular area. Okay? Please ask any questions at any point. So it's really informal. And it's quite nice to get some feedback and engagement from you guys rather than me just talking at you. Okay? So what I'll do periodically is ask, are there any questions, or I will ask a specific question. And we have a wonderful assistant at the back there who will be running around with a microphone so that we can kind of hear the question and everybody can kind of be involved in the process, okay? So again, welcome, and I'll take you through a formal presentation and try not to talk about the slides too much because you can see that for yourselves from where you are, okay? So I'll make a start. This is what we're going to cover, essentially, okay? And it's really about prioritisation, okay? It's about the desire to improve, and it's about the motivation to, if you like, implement that improvement process within ourselves in terms of our behaviour and thinking. So if you're thinking about managing your workload more effectively moving forward, which I think you must be, because otherwise there wouldn't be a kind of interest in this particular subject area, then you have to be motivated. You have to be, or it won't happen. And you have to have the desire to kind of make something change and become better. Otherwise it won't happen. And you need to be able to prioritise what's the most important thing. And that even in itself is actually a really complicated and difficult question. Sometimes we can maybe oversimplify something like that. So in terms of prioritisation, who's it important for? Are we talking about, what's your priority, what's the priority for the person you're reporting to, or what's the priorities for the business? So even that in itself is a kind of, a question to kick around, okay? In this context, it's about you prioritising your development in this particular area of managing your own workload and focusing and thinking about it consciously so that you can actually start to make it happen and move on from where you are. Okay, so this is on the literature that you guys would have read about this session. These are the kind of key questions, I think, that we're saying this is what the session in 50 words. So I kind of turned this around on its head a little bit, and I kind of thought, if you asked a question about who doesn't need to learn to manage their kind of world and their working lives better, who hasn't in the past and maybe in the future, no doubt, will at some time allocate too much time, too much energy in the wrong direction on the wrong thing for the wrong reasons. We've all done that. And who hasn't felt overwhelmed, at times. And whether that's at work or outside of work, this is how you want to kind of personally kind of take this information forward. Personally, I think it's useful to consider, this kind of managing, multiple agendas in the workplace, but also to think about that outside of work. And what's happening in the workplace right now, and I'm sure you guys will be aware, is that, this divide where we used to have, work here, so even my dad's generation, they'd go to work in the office, leave the office, and they may occasionally have brought paperwork home, but that's kind of as far as that went. And now we're working in environments where we're doing Skype calls from home, we're working across time zones, things have changed enormously, and very quickly. So the work life and the personal life have almost kind of merged, and are merging, and you look across globally how different countries and cultures work and how, traditionally in the UK people have really separated work and their private life, so they have their colleagues here, and their friends here, have work here and home here. And not every culture globally is like that. Many environments in many cultures, your work colleagues are your friends, everybody socializes most evenings, people are taken to work and given lifts and sharing kind of food with the families at weekends. For me, maybe when I was employed in an organisation, I may go out on the Christmas do. I may occasionally go out on someone's leaving do. But I certainly wasn't, and I think this is age relevant as well, so I certainly wasn't going out sort of 3 or 4 times a week with my work colleagues because I have my friends. And this sort of thing is kind of really changing, and that's the kind of environment that we're working in. So we need to consider, how do we manage all of these things that are merging together as well? It's not just about managing work anymore and managing life. So the things are merging together.